funny girl.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around.
Yes.
Just now you can hear the other people talk. That's a good idea.
This is Laura Perard, our sound designer. She wrote the music for this show.
Really neat. And we have Magali Henderson, who is our stage manager and has been holding down the fort for us. And then we have Karen Perlow, all the way from Boston. Karen is the lighting designer, and Karen and I work together really, in summer stock. And so the magnificent Lee Kitts. Yes. Lee really, we're almost up to 10 performances of this show. But when Lee and I started working together, we really started digging into the script. So do you want to talk about that?
Oh, well, we had done, 2 years ago? It wasn't really a reading because it was sort of, she had everything memorized, but I thought it was wonderful then. And when she asked me to direct this full production of the show, I was delighted. And it's just been such an adventure, just really sort of taking the time, having the time. I guess we had 60 hours of rehearsal, which is a lot for a show of this size, this length for a 55 minutes, was it? Is it? And it's just been very gratifying. Vivian's such a pro, and she responds so beautifully to direction. I mean, you just give her a little whiff of an idea and she goes with it, So that's just delightful. And it was a real collaboration. Just every rehearsal fun.
Yeah, Magali made sure of that.
Yeah.
My best.
Do you have any questions for us? Anything that you wonder about?
How long did it take you to do this whole thing? Was it an idea that came a while back, or?
That's a great question, and it actually started 20 years ago. I was leaving drama school in 1992, and I was there had been a lot of research and a lot of activity about Kevin O'Doherty, my great-great-grandfather, who was a member of the Young Irelanders movement, and he did do all of this, he was convicted and transported. All that story is true. But I couldn't find out very much. I mean, the scholarly work that was done on it, he was a doctor and a journalist, and he wrote for papers and stuff. And all the scholarly work that was being done, Eva was just kind of, and Eva was a poet. But there wasn't really a whole lot about her that I found substantive, but there was something about her that just really kind of, but I had some issues. I drank too much. So when I went to Ireland to do the research, I kind of lost my focus. And then it became very difficult to write the play for a couple of reasons. Because I did go over there and find out that there was denial about her existence on one camp, Valda, who existed. And then there was a lot of celebration about her on the other camp, but still nobody knew, and there weren't any books written about her. There wasn't a lot of work done about her that was substantive. So when I sat down to write it, these conflicts kept coming up. So it was a real journey. And I gave it up, I just figured, okay, it's just not going to happen. So I was sitting with Lynn C. Miller, who's a local playwright. She taught at UT Austin for many years. And we started chatting over coffee one day. I said, I've had this idea for a solo play. And she said, well, let's write it. Let's do it. And I said, well, how's that going to happen? And she said, we'll start a class. And so we got 6 people, Lynn included, and we all wrote these shows. It took us about 2 months, going to class, bringing pages, having people read. My muse during that time was Brian Herrera, if anyone knows Brian from UNM. He's now at Princeton teaching, but he was in the class, and he and I, we didn't know it at the time, but we were pacing each other. On Sunday night, we'd be scrambling, writing pages, because I knew Brian was going to bring something brilliant. And he was scrambling because he thought that I would be bringing something brilliant. And so we kind of worked each other forward. And we all premiered, all of us premiered at the Solo Fest 2010. So it was very rough. But the sitting down to write it, to answer your question in a very long way, is sitting down to write it once I had support. And that's the key, really, to have the right people around you that you actually trust, because that's hard. Artistic trust is just like, oh my gosh, it's so fragile. And when you have it, it becomes something so treasured, that you I have a deep, deep gratitude to both Lynn and Brian and Lee, and also our friend Eb Latimer, who helped with the first production as well.
And she added
Yeah.
more, some scenes,
Sent it to a
since
playwright.
that first thing
Yeah.
a couple of years ago for this production.
Lori Romero from Santa Fe, who's an award-winning playwright, she read it. She said that Valda was so fun, she only had the one scene under the tree. She said, Valda needs more. She's really fun, and we should see her more. So we wrote in that.
So we
and
went
then,
around the Connemara with her.
Right. We went
Really?
around the Connemara with her, and then once you pull one little thread, the whole thing starts to unravel. You have to fill in that blank there and fill in that blank there. So I had to do about the same.
And Eva, too. She wanted Eva to show up.
Eva wanted, she wanted Eva. Actually, the tableau for Eva was from the very first vision of the play that I had 20 years ago. So I really wanted that moment of her realization of what day it was, and that crisis of her. I just couldn't figure that somebody that strong was going to go easily into a Victorian marriage. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. She's not talking.
I
Yeah,
have
we're-
a question. I understand you went to New York with the show as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And I was just wondering how it felt to have your dream of being on Broadway.
Well, Broadway hasn't happened yet. But it was, we were 6 blocks away, like I said. Yeah. We could see Broadway.
Yeah.
We could see it.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was great. They loved it, and it was. We really had to have our stuff, in a row. By the time we went there, we were kind of nervous
polite.
about it. Yeah, and so it was great to have the play kind of ready 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
It really was. It was great, and then we learned stuff from that performance. Just with an audience, because the audience is the final element. You have to have the audience, and so we learned a lot just from where what was funny. Oh, that's funny. That was great, and just we didn't change that much, but just a few things.
We had to squish it. Because it was, the theater
Yeah,
was about
it's a tiny
3/4 of
little
the size of
place.
this room, I guess.
I was curious, what was it about her that captured you, that you wanted to find more, to be able to find yourself?
It was the constancy.
That's the word, I was asking her, what was that word? And there's
Yeah.
a theme in there, and I thought, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, it was the fact that she could stay true to a thought or a path. Thanks for asking that question. It's
Sure.
it was that my world had been very disrupted all the time. It was just drama, and people, dying and killing themselves, and this, just like, it seemed like every other year there was just explosion after explosion after explosion, and then. And so I was just kind of blown away by the fact that she could stay steady for 7 years, waiting for somebody that she hardly knew, really. And I wanted to know how she did that. I wanted to know why. And everybody in Ireland thought I was mad when I asked that question. They're like, of course you waited. That's what we do. It's like we promise something, we stay, that's what we do. And so it was a really interesting process. I finally learned that it's okay to just be constant. And so that's, I think, the gift that I've gotten out of doing the play. And also the gift of finding out that it actually resonates, with people in a way that's. Does that answer your question?
Vivian, have you ever been approached by anyone to write a book
No.
about this story? Is fascinating, and it just gives us all. wanting to
I see
go-
little
go
glints
home
in
and
her
look up.
eyes right now, though.
I think it would make a one. I'm not a writer.
You see the little. But you're a good reader.
I think it would make a one.
Yeah, what?
Cool.
Did you say one of their children survived, and that's
Mhm.
your
Yeah, that's my
relative, and they ended
my
up in the U.S.?
great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Ended up actually in England.
Oh.
Her
Actually,
father
she
was
stayed-
British.
Yeah, my father was British, and they stayed in Australia. Then she married a man named Edmund, and they moved to London, I think, when my grandmother was 4 or 5, and set up shop in London. And then my father was born in London. And
Oh.
my sister and I are well, I'm the first American. My sister was born in London as well.
Fascinating.
Mm.
Well, if there are no more questions, we'll let you all get some snacks. I think there's still some noshy things, I'm not sure, but please do eat up.
Thank you
All right,
so
thank
much
you.
for coming.